Hi, everyone. In this week's video, I want to continue discussing some of the things that we need to be aware of when we embark on diversity, equity, and inclusion work. So I often get asked by prospective clients, what are some of the things that they need to watch out for? What are the pitfalls? And we started with some questions last week, and this week I want to continue with discussing the importance of having your senior leaders be bought in at the very beginning of any diversity, equity, and inclusion engagement. But I also want to talk about how it's also important for them to be engaged throughout the process. So let me talk about both of these pieces because they're both so important. So at the beginning of the engagement, you want your senior leaders to all be bought in. And what I mean by that is they have to have a shared vision of what this work is going to entail and why they're embarking on this. And that is very different from just checking the box and saying, yes, diversity, equity, and inclusion is important. We hear it's important, and we should be doing something about this. So every single person on the executive leadership team, your top layer of leaders within an organization, should all be articulating or should all be on the same page in terms of what is the purpose of engaging in this work as an organization. So what are the outcomes that they'd like to see? What is that shared vision? And after that, when I say they should all be bought in, they should have some idea of how that's going to translate into the work that the organization does. Some idea. Things might change, things might evolve, things might grow, but there should be some idea of that they can communicate out to the organization. So when you first engage in this work, everyone else is really looking to the direction and setting the tone for the work, the vision from your senior leadership team. After that, you might have all levels of the organization involved and even taking ownership of the work, but you really need that buy-in from the top. And then why I'm saying that the engagement is so important, because oftentimes leaders will have created that buy-in and aligned on their commitment, what that looks like. They've even done a statement of how they each want to participate in this work. And then sometimes, like anything else, we get busy, we forget, and we don't stay engaged in the work. And what happens is if the enthusiasm, the commitment, the work behind any of your diversity, equity, and initiatives, if that starts to decrease or people start noticing that the energy is not the same, then what happens is there's a ripple effect with everyone else in the organization. And I've seen this time and time again. So I just want to flag that the senior leadership team needs to re-engage with the process if they notice that that's what's happening throughout an engagement. And so re-engaging, what does that look like and what does that mean? It can be simple things like making sure that in their email communications, they're reintroducing, reinvigorating some of the initiatives, that they're calling out when somebody's doing a really great job on these initiatives, and calling out the leadership in a certain area, talking about a particular initiative and how well it went, what we learned from it, how this is going to support us in the organization, and making sure again that they're familiar with who's working on these initiatives and giving that appreciation, because oftentimes those that are involved in diversity, equity, and inclusion work are taking that on in a volunteer capacity, in addition to all very full workloads that they have going on. So to recap, the engagement piece is how they can communicate it visibly to the organization, making sure that they're reinvigorating certain initiatives or giving highlighting and visibility to certain initiatives so that the whole organization is aware that the senior leadership team is supporting this, that they're seeing what's being done in this area, they're helping everyone else be aware of what's happening in the area, and congratulating those that are involved in these efforts in the same way that they would with anyone else. What I'm talking about is nothing that they wouldn't already do with other initiatives, and making sure visibility aspect is constantly there in this space. And that really needs to come from the senior leadership team, because the message that it sends to the rest of the organization is, my senior leaders care about this. They're committed. They know what's going on. They're applauding this work. They're involved in this work. They're calling out those that are doing really great work in this space. And that continues to say, we are committed to this work. It's not just a check the box initiative. So that's what I've seen work. That's what I'm flagging as a potential pitfall. But I would love to hear how else in your organizations are senior leaders either showing their commitment or engagement, either at the beginning or throughout the process, that has really helped your organization.